Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Ninja Skill Booster, the ninja power of the weekly review. Oh, this is such a big topic and such a powerful ninja practice to form into a habit, to become something that we almost can't live without weekly, something that helps us feel on top of things, something that helps us feel in control. So once again, welcome on this chilly morning. Everyone's sharing how cold it is in their part of the world, although I think Queensland might be a bit better, Kerry, unless you're a little bit further west. But once again, welcome. A little bit more sharing in the chat just to see how you all are this morning. I'm kind of thinking which one of these 2 hours feels the coldest. But if you could please put in the chat which hour you feel like at the moment and maybe why. We love this little check-in for our virtual sessions. It helps everyone get engaged. It helps us just get a quick feel for how everyone is. Maybe 9 is the one that should be under the blanket still. I can see lots of 9s coming through. 7s, any 6s yet? And if there's ever a 6, I like to certainly send out some love to the 6s. Trying to convince myself to wake up, Ruth. I love it. Nice one. I am a coffee drinker, so I do have that little vice to get me going in the morning. Thank you, everyone. Lovely to see you all. If you haven't met me before, my name is Matt. I'm a productivity ninja here at Think Productive Australia, and many of you will know Julie as well. Julie's here with us today. If you wanted to say a quick hello, Julie.
Hey everyone, nice to be here with you today.
I can see Julie waving. She may not show up on the recording unless there's a sound. So thanks, Julie. Lovely to see you. Our vision at Think Productive is creating a work revolution where everyone loves Mondays. This is our way of verbalizing that we want to help all our clients and more than our clients reduce stress, increase fulfillment, get more enjoyment out of work and life. That's what we're all about here at Think Productive. If you haven't come across us before, our founder from the UK, Graham Alcott, wrote this book, How to Be a Productivity Ninja, which is a fantastic book. And all our workshop participants get access to this book through our Productivity Ninja Academy, not in these Ninja Skill Boosters, but in our actual corporate or online in-house workshops. Everyone gets access to this book as well. So today we're focusing on the review part of the CORD model. So the CORD model, collect, organize, review, and do, many of you would have heard of. This is a funnel of planning and thinking about our work, getting from this stage of overwhelm, too much to do, crazy brain, so much to think about. Through an organized process, everything starts to get a bit more structured and manageable. The review process we're focusing on today, which is around taking time to step back and review all this. And the do phase is another part of the phase, which we're not getting into today, but that's the actual doing. That's where we want to be spending 95% of our time in actually getting the work done. But today we're focusing on review because it's a critical step in the process, if you like. So part of the review is the weekly review, which is what we're here to talk about today. The other part of the review is the daily review or the daily checklist, which we cover in our workshops. But today we're focused on the weekly review. The weekly review is concentrated boss thinking. Now, many of you have heard me talk about boss thinking. Boss thinking is this boss mode when we step away from the work and we start to do our planning, our prioritizing. I'll come back to this slide, but I just wanted to bring this up because many of you will remember this. This brain process or this mode of thinking or working that we have, which is worker mode or boss mode. Worker mode doing the work, boss mode doing the planning and the thinking. The critical thing here is separating the two. So when we are doing the planning and the thinking, we're not distracted by trying to do the work. And when we are doing the work, we're not distracted by doing the boss thinking. So back to the previous slide. The boss thinking is where we really get clarity and we really get structure. Now we can concentrate this into 1 to 2 hours a week. Honestly, I think 1 hour is enough, but I know some people like to do bigger weekly reviews because it is a beautiful way to get structure and get control. It helps us get in control. It actually helps us stay ahead, helps us stay ahead of the mess, if you like, helps us keep things on track. It's critical for creating ninja Zen-like calm, and therefore creating ninja productivity. So we're going to go into this in some detail now. Just a reminder, this is boss thinking. This is where we're really taking this overview. It's a beautiful moment to reflect on everything. We can also do boss thinking scattered throughout the week in 2, 3, 5-minute chunks. But this is also when it all comes together. It's a beautifully structured way of bringing it all together. What this does, it helps actually create more visibility of what's around us. Ninja agility is this concept of being able to not only plan and predict what's coming, but ninja agility is this ability to be able to be more flexible and also recover when things happen that we don't expect. So things will always happen that we don't expect in work and in life. So when we're doing this higher level planning and thinking, we can start to predict these a little bit more, but we can also be more organized, which means when something happens that we just couldn't predict, an absolute surprise, we can recover easier to our organized workplace, if you like, our organized work and our organized life. Excuse me for one second. Okay, so when we do this weekly review, it helps us trust our second brain. Our second brain is our to-do list, but it's our improved to-do list that we talk about in many of our workshops. The second brain is where all our information is stored. Everything is in there, so our brain is free for doing the work and doing the thinking. So this weekly review process helps us trust our second brain. Whether that second brain is pen and paper, a digital app, on a whiteboard or a spreadsheet, doesn't matter where it is. It's still important that we trust that second brain completely. It's captured everything we need. When we do the review, we get to see where everything's up to. Am I on track? What's next? What do I need to be planning for? And bringing all this thinking together, all this boss thinking into this one weekly review helps us save time. Some people think, I don't have an hour to do this. I've got a busy job. I've got a busy life. Where could I possibly find an hour? But the thing is, doing it all together in 1 hour actually saves us time through making us more productive, more efficient, less stressed, and saving us from having to do this thinking and the planning every minute of the day throughout the week. So this increases our ability to remember things. It increases our ability to think, or our intelligence. It increases our intuition. Because if all this stuff is more organized through the review process, through the second brain process, we can then have our actual brain back to do the work it's meant to do. So we're focusing today on the weekly review. I've got a checklist that I'll put in the chat for you now that you can grab anytime you like. This checklist, this is a PDF version. I'm going to share an editable Word version later, but this PDF version takes us through the 5 stages of the weekly review. These 5 stages are important because they give us structure. They give us something to follow. Now, I just want to pause here. I can see Crystal's raised a hand. Crystal, if you wouldn't mind just putting any questions or comments you have in the chat, that would be great, and we can answer those. So I'm going to go through these 5 stages. They're all about, firstly, doing a bit of a tidy up, doing a bit of backward thinking, if you like, looking at the past, getting everything organized, starting to have a moment to do some thinking and planning, getting ready for what's coming up. And then the final stage is this beautiful stage of increasing our self-awareness, our mindfulness, and some good questions to check in with. So even though there's 5 stages here, I simplify this in my brain, and I think the weekly review, and I think it's about the past, so tidying up the past, it's about the future, it's about what's coming, and then it's about the present. And I do love this part about the present, this checking in with ourselves, this human, not superhero. So let's have a look at these 5 stages one by one. But before I do, I'll just check in. Are there any questions at all? Feel free to put them in the chat if there are any questions or comments. Oh, thanks, Catherine. Do you recommend doing this alone? Or can it be done with your team? And that's a really good question. And after I go through these 5 stages, I'll be talking about how to make this weekly review happen, because it's kind of a thing that I shouldn't say this. It's a thing that's quite easy to skip if we're busy. So one of the ways to actually make it happen is to do it with your team, or is to do it with a buddy, rather than just to, think we're going to do it on our own. And thanks, Tanya. Tanya's saying that you're loving your to-do list. Yeah, beautiful. Another one of our ninja skills there. All right, so let's have a look at stage 1. Getting my inputs back to 0. This is the looking back. This is saying, are there any new ideas? What about my emails? Let's get my inbox to 0 if that's out of control. I haven't checked my voicemails for a while. What's in Microsoft Teams? What's in Slack? What's in LinkedIn? Any follow-ups, any actions from notebooks? Like, this is just any post-it notes on my desk, anything in my wallet or my bag. Have a look back through last week's calendar. Does anything in there prompt me to think, oh, that's right, I had that meeting. I haven't done those follow-up things. So this is a great stage of just taking a moment, taking a breath, catching up from the previous week. So get everything back to 0. It might also involve a bit of a tidy up of your desk. That's always a good thing for me to do, being a bit of a messy worker. So stage 1, get everything sorted out, tidy up. Stage 2, which is kind of done in conjunction with stage 1 as we're going through stage 1, but it's also a standalone stage when we finish stage 1, because it's all about just reviewing our second brain. Update the second brain. So even though in stage 1 we'll probably be adding things to the second brain, this is about taking that pause to then just be with our second brain and think, right, is everything up to date? Have I crossed off all the things I've done? Have I added up anything I need to add? Any actions or follow-ups that I should be prioritizing in here? If I have a waiting for list, check that, get that up to date. In my emails, which is kind of part of our second brain, even though it sits alongside our second brain, but take a moment to check those folders in our emails, our waiting folder, our action folder, what needs to be done there. If we have a project list, which is another list we can have in our second brain, which is a list, a higher level list of things we're working on, rather than right down at the task level. So the project list might include the projects you're working on, key goals you're working towards, your KPIs, OKRs, whatever it is you're working towards. They might just be on a summary list. So have a look at that. Make sure we're making progress on all of those things. So this is a moment just to look at that second brain and say, hi there, second brain. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for taking all the pressure off my brain. I love you. I trust you. Let's make sure you're still there to support me. Let's make sure you're up to date. Let's make sure everything's in there. There's nothing more satisfying. Well, there's something more satisfying than this, which is getting the work done. But it's a very satisfying feeling when that second brain is all up to date and we know exactly where we're at. Yes, the more satisfying feeling is actually getting the work done, but it's a good starting point. When we're doing this second brain, just a little bit of ninja theory, back to a bit of ninja theory here. When we're going through this second brain, think about a few key concepts. 80-20 rule. What is the 20% of things in here that's going to give me the 80% results? Focus on the things that are going to give the big wins, the easy wins or the important wins. Do I need to renegotiate anything? Are there things in this list that I'm not going to be able to do in time, or I don't see the value in anymore? Do I need to follow up, have some conversations on this? Use this review process to actually save us time by thinking through these things. While we're spending time with our second brain, have a think about our big rocks. The Stephen Covey concept of doing the big important things first. Make a note of what your big rocks are for the coming week. Focus on those, get that planning done. All of this thinking doesn't take a lot of time, but it gives us a lot of clarity. There's a saying that I think is attributed to Brené Brown. I'm not sure if that's where it started, but clarity is kindness, which is often a saying used in terms of providing clarity to others. If we can provide clarity to others, it's providing kindness. But I like to turn this inwards as well and say clarity is kindness to ourselves. Clarity is providing comfort and peace to ourselves. So spending that time in stage 2, getting clarity. Stage 3, start doing some planning. Think ahead like a boss. Go back to those projects. Think, what are my priorities for this week? This is where we start to bring in the big rock concept. Any preparation I need to do for upcoming meetings, anyone I need to contact or talk about for upcoming projects. There's nothing worse than getting to the day before or the hour before a meeting or a project plan or an event and thinking, oh, I didn't call that person 3 days ago to check that everything was still planned and ready to go. So do some planning. This is where we're looking into the future now. Let's not miss key deadlines. Let's make sure we're taking this moment to pause and reflect on what's coming up. I'm just going to read this comment out from Tanya. I had moved away from lists, but since our session started doing the brain dump and truly feel that I'm less tense and sleeping better as my first brain doesn't need to try and keep track of it all. Whoa. Wow, Tanya, you've just summarized one of the huge benefits there. Just this feeling, do the brain dump, get it into the second brain, get it all sorted out, and we can even sleep better. I love it. Feeling less tense. Oh, that's why we're here, Tanya. Thank you for sharing that. So we do stage 3, think ahead, do the planning. Stage 4, it's a little bit more of this planning, thinking ahead, just a little bit different. These are designed to just get us to slightly look through a different lens. So stage 4, just get ready. Any travel plans coming up, logistics to organize there. Honestly, this doesn't have to just be work, because we're all one soul, all one being here, right? So this might be a holiday that's coming up, a weekend away. Is there anything I need to do? Now, we're not doing it in this moment, but we're just thinking about it and capturing some actions. This is the key thing, capturing the actions in our second brain. Anything to reconfirm, any meetings I need to book. So just planning ahead. Another lens to look through our life and our work and just make sure we're not getting any surprises coming up. And the final stage is questions. I love this stage. This is when we can really spend, it might only be 5 minutes, but it's an extremely powerful 5 minutes, turning our attention towards ourselves. When will my energy and attention be best next week? Let's plan for this. What can I be ruthless about? Renegotiate my commitments to focus on what creates impact. So this is wrapping up some of the previous stages, but making it a little bit deeper. Am I feeling resistant towards certain tasks? Oh, this brings up the big ninja topic of procrastination. Many of you have heard us talk about the DUST model. Go and watch our procrastination skill booster if you want help with that. But this resistance question, I love it because it'll bring up these things. How can I overcome it? Use the DUST model. What have been my bright and dark spots of the past week? So what can I celebrate? But what also do I need to maybe clean up a little bit or reflect on or learn from? Did I make any mistakes that I just need to learn from with love? Am I finding time for the people and things I love outside of work? If not, make plans. Make sure we've got something in our calendar that we're actually looking forward to. Something that's going to bring us joy. If it's bringing us joy, it's making us a better human being. It's making us a happier, more productive human being. So these 5 stages, they really make a big difference to help us feel on track, help us make space. And as Graham says in this quote, productivity is making space for what matters. So this weekly review really does this. So I encourage you now to start thinking about when would be a good time to do this. I'm going to ask you to put this in the chat, please. When do you think would be a good time to do this weekly review? There's no right or wrong, and there's a different answer for every person, really. But if you're thinking, I need to find 1 to 2 hours, honestly, I do think 1's enough. Bit of controversy here in Ninja Land about that, but I think 1's enough. 1 hour. Friday morning over coffee, Monday morning or Friday afternoon, Friday morning. Yeah. I can see everyone sort of going for the start or the end of the week. You've already scheduled it, Jennifer. All these comments are going so fast, I won't be able to read them. You've just scheduled it 9 to 10 every Monday morning. I love it. And I have it in my calendar for Friday, but I'm reassessing. I like that. Think about it. Ninja unorthodoxy is all about experimenting with things. So just put it in there somewhere and let's give it a try. So many comments. Thank you so much. My little story about when is when I first started doing the weekly review, when I got so passionate about this ninja world back in 2014, and I was still working in corporate, I thought, I'm going to do this on Friday afternoon. What a beautiful thing to do on Friday afternoon, right? And there's no right or wrong. This was just my experience. Friday afternoon, I can clean up the whole week, get it all tied up in a nice little bow. How beautiful. But how many times do you think I did it on Friday afternoon? 0. Because the first Friday afternoon came and I was like, oh, no, I'm too tired. I'll do it next week. The next Friday afternoon came, same thing. I'm ready for the weekend. So this went on for about 4 weeks of positive self-talk. Come on, Matt, you can do this. And I just realized Friday afternoon was not going to work for me. So Friday morning is my sacred space when I do my weekly review now. So it's good to just think about this. Some final comments here. Tim says we usually don't achieve our goals, so it's good to go through what we did achieve. Yes, because maybe we're not achieving some of our goals, Tim, but we're definitely achieving some. So the to-do list is fantastic. How? Think about when you have good attention and good energy. This is why Friday afternoon didn't work for me. You know, you need to be at your best. Where do you need to be to do this? I need to be in my office. Which is now my home office, which is great. That can be at home, but I need to be in my office, got all my stuff around me. Some people can do it from a cafe or the park if everything's fully digital, but I've always got scraps of paper and things I need to sort out. Think about what you need to do it, and definitely think about if you want to have an accountability buddy for this. Julie and I check in with each other sometimes just to make sure we're on track with our weekly review. Not something we do together, but we check in with each other on this. But if you want some support, grab a buddy and make this something you do together. So I will be sharing at the end of the session an editable version of that checklist. I really encourage you to grab that editable version. It's a Word document and make it your own. So the checklist I shared is our standard checklist, but grab the Word version, make it your own, put your name at the top, put the time at the top. When are you going to do it? Change all the wording, change all the things, change all the tools that we reference in there, because that's just the starting point, if you like. As you know, with our Ninja content, there's no right or wrong. It's about progress, not perfection. Are there any questions before we start wrapping up? We like to keep these sessions nice and succinct, so you just get a bit of a boost in your day, boost in your month. If there's any questions, please put them in the chat. Going back to look at some of the comments. Melissa says, brain is sharper and more creative in the morning. Yep, definitely. Luella, end of the week to leave my brain free for the weekend. Completely agree. As long as you've got the energy and the discipline to do it. Can't see the first version of the checklist, Mark. Okay, no problem. I'm going to put it in the chat here again because I know the chat's been busy. There's a PDF there. While I'm doing this, let me put the editable version in. Should go in there as well. So then you've got both of those. How do you discipline yourself to actually do it? That's a great question, Daniel. One of the best ways is to have a buddy. Get started by having a buddy. This is what I did 8 years ago. Got started by having a buddy. Over time, it will become more and more of a habit, and then it becomes something you automatically do. All right, everyone, before you leave, we do have a giveaway again, and I'm happy to stay on the line and keep chatting. The giveaway is coming up. Before that, I just wanted to mention our next 6 Weeks to Ninja program is coming up. We're having such great feedback on this program, such great success with people who are coming along and doing the program. So it's coming up on the 24th of August. I'll put the link in the chat for you. I'll just grab this link for you to give you all the details on the 6 Weeks to Ninja program. At the moment, super early bird tickets are available. They're $750. So jump in there, have a look at that. And remember, that's just our public version. We can run this for your team. We can run this for your company. And we've got all our other productivity and leadership workshops as well. One more comment, or our big giveaway for you this week is our Getting Your Inbox Down to Zero book. Don't get disappointed when you receive this, because it's just a little booklet, right? It's a booklet rather than a book. I don't want to disappoint anyone, but we're going to give away 10 of these. So it's not a race. Don't feel panicked that you have to race and do this right now, but please email us at hello@thinkproductive.com.au. Put inbox to 0, please, in the subject, just so we can capture all these. And please include your postal address so we know where to send it to. We're going to give away 10 of these. Normally, we only give away 3 books, but these are smaller, so we're giving away 10. All right, it's a random draw. It's not a rush. It's not a race. Another question here, how do you know what will create impact? Sometimes I see all of my to-do tasks, big rocks and pebbles, as impactful. When I focus on the smaller ones, which are almost easy, then I focus on smaller ones, which are the easy wins. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, Melissa? It's a trade-off between getting the small things done because they feel good and they might be some quick wins, but the bigger things, even the fact that you can already identify the small things and the big things, might help to answer the question around what's going to create the most impact. It's the big things. It's the big things. But, you know, there may be some small ones that if you haven't approved something for one of your team members to keep working, well, that could have big impact on them. So there could be little things that have big impact. Only you will know. And I would be judging our tasks based on your outcomes that you need to be achieving, your goals, judging your tasks based on those KPIs, those OKRs, those outcomes that you're working towards. That's a good way to know what's the impact. Could the checklist be emailed? Yes, Gulnaz, I'll include a link to the checklist in the follow-up email that comes with the checklist not showing up in the chat. All right, everyone. I'm going to put a link in there as well. Thank you. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm just going to end the recording and we'll stay online though with the chat. Check out some of our new workshops, everyone. If you haven't seen them yet, we're getting more and more into this leadership space because it's all part of productivity. So jump in and check those out. Thank you so much for joining us today. I will stop the recording and then we'll share these checklists to get in the chat via link. Thanks, everyone.